Casey Anthony trial is going on right now, and I always kind of think it's interesting to get a man's perspective on a
Okay.
story about
I'm
a
close
mother
enough
who
to a
is
man,
accused of, killing her daughter, essentially. She's on trial for her 2-year-old daughter that went missing. She didn't report it for a month. Turns out the daughter's in the car decomposing.
Exactly.
What's your view on it?
Something else is going on too. Didn't something come out today about what says here she's using stolen checks? Is she pleading not guilty?
Yeah, she's basically.
Wow.
So there's also a backstory to it where she's saying that the father is actually the one that planted evidence against her. He found the body in the pool, he put the body in the car, let it decompose, she knew nothing of it. But the point being is for 30 days, she went about her life like she never had a daughter.
How many cars did she have? That's a question I have. Was she using that car where the baby was in the back seat?
That I'm not, the baby wasn't in the back seat, the baby was in the trunk.
Jesus, God almighty.
And apparently you could smell the decomposing
body.
body.
I've heard it's quite a...
All of that. So the question is do you believe that she absolutely had nothing to do with this, or do you think she's passing the blame on everyone else because she doesn't want to take any responsibility?
It doesn't matter if you're a girl or a guy. You're a moron if you think she had nothing to do with it. I mean, think about it. There's a baby in the trunk. How do you go about your life? You know you have a 2-year-old daughter. If you're a woman and you have a baby, that's a pretty memorable experience. I heard it's painful. All right, so you have a baby, and obviously the father was kind of a reject too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. I don't think he was. I don't even think he's in the picture really. I think he's there, but he's not really there.
And this chick is batshit crazy. She's like 22.
She's 25 now, so she had the baby when she was 23.
Right. So you name me one girl at 23 who's not batshit crazy. I've never met one who's normal. So, but I mean, they're not all ready to be a mother. Obviously, she's not. Of course, she has something to do with it. She must have decent lawyers, or maybe the lawyers are on some kind of ecstasy or drugs to think they're actually going to get away with a non-guilty verdict. I mean, the baby was in the trunk and the mother lived for a month and didn't report anything. Clearly, she didn't want to have this kid, and there's something loose though, because even if you don't want to have a kid, there's other ways to go about doing it. If you think you could really just get away with murder or whatever she did with a 2-year-old kid, I don't know how she...
Yeah, well, and if you see the pictures of her from, when she had the kid before she got, accused of all this, she's a very bright, fun-loving girl.
Yeah.
And now you see her and she almost looks dead and depressed, and like she's finally coming to her senses and realizing that this is some serious...
Yeah, well, murdering a 2-year-old will kind of put a damper on your, on your personality, I think. I remember seeing pictures of her. I'm like, oh, this chick's actually pretty hot. But I mean, like I said, that's one. Okay, that is a guy's perspective. Like, even if someone is a murderer, we'll still look at her like, oh, she's pretty hot. Or like, if a teacher's like having sex with her students, I'll be like, damn, why didn't I go to that school? Like that blonde girl that got in trouble months ago. I'm rambling. What was it, like a 14-year-old or something like that? He was 12 at the time.
12. There you go.
Yeah, but I mean, that kid was the luckiest kid ever. This chick was like pretty smoking hot. I mean, messed up in the head clearly, and she still has issues. But she looks.
She looks like she's just trying to get out of it. And then when you think of people like trying to get out of things, you automatically think of like, I don't know. I go to Lindsay Lohan, and I think like this is another person who you've seen in court multiple times, who's in the public eye, and she looks really together and like a party girl. And then you see her in court, and she kind of has that stern, like sad.
That's because she's sober. That's because Lindsay's sober when she's in court. And the thing is, we know Lindsay's parents are nuts. I'd like to know what her parents are like. Are they actually around? Are they still married?
Well, apparently her father actually has been accused of child abuse, of neglect, and the defense is bringing that in as a reasoning as to why she was unable to bond with her child. There was a disconnect between them, which is always an excuse.
If you're beaten as a kid, it doesn't give you the reason to put a kid in a trunk and let him decompose. I mean, there's been plenty of people that have come from shitty backgrounds and ended up being, a successful person. Even people that were abused. It doesn't, to take it to that level, I mean, yeah, obviously defense attorneys have to come up with reasons, but they're like, they have to be up until 3 a.m. like, God, what can we come up with here?
Well, and I think of Ashley Judd, because she just wrote that book, and it had stories about how she had sexual abuse growing up, and she's got her life completely together.
Look at her.
She's actually on a great track, and she's never had a problem. So how can you use that as an excuse? Yeah, I'm sure. I know it has some effect on people. Obviously, it has to.
Yeah, it's got to have an effect, but to the point where if you have a kid at 2 years old or whatever, no matter how old the kid is, put it up for adoption or whatever, we all have things that happen. I was 165 pounds when I was 11. I was a fat kid. Look at me now. Way to go me. Doesn't mean I'm going to go out and do crazy shit and get arrested for it. You know what I mean? Like, there's no accountability. We always the thing is with our society, we always like to make excuses, or we never want to fully admit the truth. You have people like, oh, I'm not a gambler, just during football season. Or like when girls are like, oh, I'm not a smoker, I just smoke when I drink. It's like, no, you're
I just smoke.
You're a smoker. All right, I just do gay porn because it's good money. No, that makes you a very financially stable homosexual. That's what you are. There's nothing wrong with it, but we never want to own up to what the truth is. And this is a perfect example.
Responsibility.
It's a perfect example. You know you're guilty.
Yeah,
God,
for sure.
Pisses me off.
Well, we'll see how it goes, and I'm guessing that she's not going to be acquitted of this, and
if a
she'll
jury
be spending some time in jail, or she's up for death penalty. So we'll see.
If a jury acquits her, it's got to be a jury of like people already in prison. I mean, what else? Who would acquit a girl who has murdered her own daughter? I mean, that's like if she goes to say a women's prison, she's going to be like Jeffrey Dahmer in the first week. She's going to be tearing her apart. There are some mean bitches in prison.
I've never been.